Hello, you're watching Much Ado About Something today, and I'm Donna. Well, I'm out here in the backyard today. I thought I'd share with you some of the vegetable garden and just bring you along with me to feed the animals. First of all, we usually feed Ollie because Ollie cannot wait to be fed. He thinks he should be first always, and he's going to whine until I feed him, no matter how much I feed him. He feels like he's the king of the backyard and he should be fed first. But he will take petting over feeding any day of the week. Go ahead, buddy, eat. And of course, even though he's been fed first, he wants to supervise me feeding the chickens. Now, normally, all those elderberry limbs are not in the chicken pen, but we trimmed the elderberry bushes, Donald did, and he threw the limbs in here, and they have ate all the elderberry leaves off. And we have the bones in there where I made bone broth. The chickens just love to peck at those bones, so they will end up even eating those bones completely away. So there's bones in there from where I made the bone broth. It's not chicken bones, it's actually other bones, beef and pork and such, but I did make bone broth, so that's what's in their pen this morning. I've got to add some more pine shavings to the nesting boxes. They get a little thin and they don't like to use the nesting boxes that are thin. Of course, this is the egg that stays in here all the time that encourages the hens to lay in the nesting boxes. We got one hen and she's interested. What are we doing to her nesting box? Now, normally we clean this chicken pen out, but I'll have to wait for Donald to help me do that since I'm not able to shovel. So because I'm not able to shovel all of the stuff out of the chicken house, that'll have to wait till a weekend when he's got time. And we can do that together, and we can use his two good shoulders and arms until I get this impingement syndrome healed. Now this nest has little eggs in it, so I'm not gonna gather eggs yet, and I'm not gonna mess with that box, but I'll go ahead and add some to this one. They get in here and scratch around and knock most of this out before they lay down to, or before they lay their egg. They'll scratch around in there. And that's where all these shavings go. But I like to replenish them and keep it good and clean in there for the hens. Try to keep the eggs as clean as I possibly can. I'll come gather those eggs later. They'll lay more. They hadn't finished their laying for today. And now the nesting boxes, or where they lay their eggs, are as clean and all ready to go for the day. And the whole chicken house, that'll have to be something I do at a later date. We've got these logs in here for them because they love to pick out anything that's living in these logs. Any kind of bug or insect, they'll enjoy those, and they'll jump up on those logs and they think there's something. Now we just have our rabbits to go, and we'll go ahead and feed them. They love to be fed. I'll have to clean out Rabbit's water bottles and wash them out really good and refill them today. Okay, so I've got the animals fed, got the rabbits fed. Here's the kids' trampoline, which takes up a large portion of our yard. Of course, here's Donald's grill, and it takes up a little section. We are saving for a new deck, and we are looking forward to getting that one day. Now, I want you to look at my compost bin. My goodness, we've already got pumpkins, and they've already got blooms on them, growing out of the compost bin. And here are potatoes. Well, I haven't worried about this compost bin. I've just been putting my compost over here near the big compost pile. But I thought you'd get a kick out of seeing all of that grow out of my compost bin. That means this compost bin is not getting hot enough. It's not getting hot enough to kill the seeds or the weed seeds. But I've let it go for right now because I physically right now cannot take a shovel and chop all this up and turn it over and fix this. That's going to have to be included in the work day when me and Donald get out here and clean out the animals' pens. Now look at the elderberries. My goodness, these are the elderberry trees that we foraged a few years back, and they are growing generously. They are awesome. And I wanted to share with you the vegetable garden. This is our little vegetable garden. We've carved out a little plot here in our city lot here in the backyard, and we grow our vegetables here. This is one of two, and this is our main vegetable garden. Our other one up here, I'll show it to you too. It is mainly for our kids, our grandkids' learning activities. Now, we did put the tomatoes here along this because last year, this is where this little garden is kind of at a slope, so most of the water ran down here. And last year we had 5 foot larger, 5.5 feet, 6 feet zucchini plants that grew right here along this way. Well, we decided this year that we would be putting the tomato plants here instead of the zucchini plants. So they are definitely right there. We got them in the ground, got them planted. Donald put the cucumbers right here. He's got a cattle panel that we're going to train the cucumbers to go up and vertical garden the cucumbers this year. Last year, the cucumbers were along this fence, and they did well. They did well there. We had quite a few cucumbers, but we just changed it up a little bit this year. Now, we still do have tomatoes going up this upper side of our little garden. Of course, we love tomato plants. I've got to water them this morning. It's been dry here. But we decided to go ahead and add these because, you know, we're going to see how much we can get out of this garden this year. And so we want to weigh everything that comes out of the garden this year and see what we can get out of it. We've got a few squash plants right here. This is a collard that I am letting go to seed. And here are our little baby bantams. They're not very big, but these little chicks we have for the kids so that they can learn how to take care of these little chicks themselves. So they're the little bantam babies. The little bantam babies are excited because when they know they see me, they're going to be fed. And they love to eat. So Donald, you know, put the cucumbers here on the upper side too to grow vertically. And this is the whole sum of our little garden in the backyard. There's nothing planted here in the middle yet. We may or may not plant anything there in the middle because it'll be even more shaded once these cucumbers grow up this trellis. So we just are walking through here right now. I had saved cardboard, but Donald, he went ahead and threw that away, not knowing what I was going to do with the cardboard. I was going to line paths around here, but that's okay. Look at this beautiful tree. Or it's a bush. Donald planted it here for privacy. We're in the city, and so we've got other houses that's really close to us. And he just planted that so that it would be privacy in a sense of like a little wooded area for the kids to play. And of course there are more elderberry trees, and that's going to be privacy with a reward that's going to have elderberry berries one day, and we're going to be able to harvest those and use those for our medicine. We are already harvesting them from the elderberry tree in the front yard, but we hope to be able to harvest these one day. Now, he has removed a lot that was right here along this fence in an effort to make a garden. This garden does get sunlight. It gets about 6 hours of sun. You can't tell that right now, but it does get plenty of sun, and it does well here. It doesn't get full sun, and that's okay, because you can grow in partial shade as long as you do have at least 4 to 6 hours of sunshine for most vegetables. Some things do way better with full sun, like peppers. And those peppers and things we've moved out to the front. We're going to add those in with our front gardens so that we can get a few peppers. I love cayenne peppers, so we'll be growing that this year. And of course, this is our no-dig, no-till garden that we started a few years back. So we haven't really, the only digging you do is the little hole that you dig to set your plants in. So we haven't turned this over. We did add rabbit manure and leaf compost over the winter. That's what we added to this little garden. And we put a light scoop of compost across the top. We probably need to add more compost, but we're just using what we have from our compost pile down here. Here is the main compost here at the left-hand side. Of course, now we compost this ourselves. This is compost from right here in our little area. We put leaves and small debris and stuff to break down here in this compost pile. Right here would be the beginning of it. It's the most composted right here. Of course, we've been using a lot of this year. We have used it on the front gardens. We have used it to mix in with our container gardening, and we have really used this compost pile. And over here, of course, is where the fresher stuff has been thrown, and Donald just overturns this with a shovel. And this is our little, we call it the corner compost area. And of course, we've put a lot of this on our garden. And of course, over here is this is our garden gate. And this here is our little section that I need to redo this wall. I had plans to redo this stone wall here, just to take this down and to restack it. It's not cemented or glued in place whatsoever. So I usually restack these stone walls every few years. I got to do the ones in the front. I restacked those year before last, but I have not been able to restack this stone wall because of the injury that I have to my rotator cuff. Because I have a rotator cuff injury and a bicep and a tricep injury, I am not able to restack these this year. But depending on how the work days go, we might be able to work this in. But this is right across from our compost corner. Our corner compost right here is to the right when you come in the gate. And here is the pretty part, the part that we grow, the things that we love to see. This is Donald's honeysuckle. It's starting to flower. Of course, it's more beautiful on the front side than it is the back side. This is the business side of the honeysuckle. It's not as nice looking, but it still gives us privacy. The dog loves to lay right in here, so there's not much we can do right in here because of that. We've got spearmint growing here, which just smells good, and it's a good medicinal herb. We've got this little red bud still growing here, and we've got the wisteria, which Donald has cut back. Now, I have plans to plant this wheelbarrow. I've planted this wheelbarrow in the past, and I love the way that it looks, but I have not got to that yet. I'm a little behind this year. Here is a little snowball bush that I put in this, a cutting off of the snowball bush in the front yard. I put it in this pot last year, and this thing is beautiful. So I've got to either make plans to give this beautiful snowball bush to a friend or work it into our landscape. Now, our backyard is not very big. It's not a very big backyard. We just have a city lot. Of course, our house sits in the middle of that, or mainly it sits more towards the back, and the front yard is bigger than the backyard. So this is not a big yard, and we have worked a lot into this yard. So this is the entrance into our backyard if you come through the garden gate, which is right here. You have the rock wall and the corner compost. I have plans to make this pretty and to plant plants here and to put a new layer of mulch down in this area, and that will be coming up in my videos, even if I have to do it with one hand. Our fence is dilapidated. We're going to have to replace our fence along when we replace our deck. We've been here a long time. We did add this deck later after being here. We had a small deck, a real tiny, like a 4x4 deck that was just big enough to come out on and, come out into the backyard. We did replace that, but it is aged and we've got our use out of it, and it's time to plant a new deck. So we are doing that out here in the backyard, and this is an area that has a lot of potential for beauty. I really love this area. I love to fix it up and to make this thing beautiful every year. Of course, this is Donald's barrel. Donald is a deer hunter, and he stores his deer corn in this barrel. So it stays right there. And here's the little garden area. We have a muscadine vine right here. Donald had to cut it back because it was just going everywhere. And over here is the other part. We've got to build an armor for this grapevine this year, an arbor, so that it can grow over. Here is a crepe myrtle that I started from seed. A little seed from the front. I just dug this little crepe myrtle up and brought it out here. And this is a little nandina that Donald just planted to keep the soil from eroding down any further. This is my little plantain patch, and it has really took a beating. My little plantain patch has really took a beating right here. It's got some kind of bugs eating on it, and Ollie wants to be on camera. But this is the little patch where I used to come and get my plantain. I am letting this recover because it had pests, and I haven't been harvesting from this area. I actually have been going to a friend's house. She has much more plantain than I do. I use plantain it's a wonderful leafy green to eat. I love to eat this growing up and really enjoy it. And it's also medicinal. But over here are our little Bantam chicks. You can see them from this side. And Ollie keeps a watch over the Bantam chicks. They are in a fence, and they are also in a little cage. We have got to build their little coop soon, but they're very tiny chickens, so they're not going to need a lot. They're not going to need a lot of space. Now, because we put the tomatoes inside of the garden, up here on the outside of the garden, we have these beautiful zucchinis. We put them just close enough to the fence where Ollie won't trample them down. We had to plant them outside this year because there was no room inside the garden for our zucchini. So we put those things outside of the garden, and we think they'll be just fine. Here's a little tote that I've got to clean up and plant something in. And there's our little zucchini. We're hoping to get a good zucchini harvest. That's something our family thoroughly enjoys. In fact, in our little garden here, we've got mainly tomatoes. We've got that little bit of okra back there. We plant cucumbers because we love fresh pickles and canned pickles. And we love squash. We'll eat the squash when it starts coming in. Yellow crookneck and straight neck squash and zucchini. We'll use those, and as long as those come in, we'll be making dishes with those. We'll have zucchini boats on the smaller zucchini. We'll fry the zucchinis that come off of this, as parts of our meal. And sometimes we'll even eat zucchini raw in salads. We also pickle zucchini, and it's delicious. We pickle okra. Donald and I do not fry a lot of foods. I am from the Appalachian background, and he is Southern. So, fried foods are predominant in our heritage, but we just minimalize fried foods, and we try to enjoy a lot of things baked and pickled, and that's how we eat a lot of our fresh garden produce. I look forward to sharing with you recipes and the things we do with what we get out of our garden. Now I'm going to take you over here to our little kids' garden. It's right here. And this garden was designed specifically for our grandchildren. Right here, some sorrel. I've taught my little grandchildren what sorrel is, and they enjoy eating sorrel. They enjoy harvesting it, washing it, and eating it fresh out of the garden. Of course, that's a wild herb that's on the side of the garden. But right here in their little garden, here's a little patch of sorrel we wouldn't dare disturb because they love it. We have watermelons that David's planted, and he is so looking forward to harvesting a watermelon. And so we're hopeful that that goes good this year for him. We last year grew pumpkins in this little garden. We're not growing pumpkins this year because we don't have the space other than what we've got coming up in the compost bin. We've got little cherry tomatoes. Now these tomatoes are the small tomatoes. We called them Tommy Toes growing up. They'll love these tomatoes. These tomatoes will grow up in here. They'll be able to come in here and pluck them off some little tomatoes as a snack, and they love plucking them and giving them to Grandpa. They loved sharing these tomatoes, little tomatoes, with their Grandpa. And of course we've got yellow squash here, so they'll be able to come and get some of that, and we'll be able to eat that this year. Now there's a lot that needs to be done here in our little micro homestead, as we call it. There's a lot of cleaning and there's a lot of work, and that's an ongoing process. I do what I can, but the bulk of the work that gets done out here is when Donald is home with me, and he's got this stuff setting up here because he mowed the yard. But I'm going to put some stuff in this little container that we've got right here that's got water in it right now, and I won't be able to lift that. But hopefully I'll be able to plant something in that little container right here. And here's the little fire pit. We have a lot of fun with our fire pit. We just burn things right here and burn the logs and stuff for the trees that Donald's cut down, little tree limbs and stuff. He saws them up, and we keep those, and we usually have a little cookout for the grandchildren. They get to eat toast their hot dogs and their make s'mores and things right here, and we pull the chairs around and they tell us ghost stories, and we get so tickled at our little grandchildren making up ghost stories and telling us their little spooky versions of things. But this backyard is not much to most people. It's just a tiny little backyard like in an average community. We do not have an HOA, and that helps us out in us being able to do a lot around here. Over here I have blueberries, and our blueberries are much like our raspberries. We rarely get a blueberry because as soon as they start turning blue, the birds get our blueberries, and you can see the beautiful blueberries that are hanging on here. And the sad thing is that we probably will not even get one. But we do have friends that have blueberry bushes, and luckily they have more than enough. And most of the time they call us, and we are able to go there and pick blueberries from their bushes, because we do not get very many from our bushes. Now you would think that in a small area like this, in a small little micro garden, that you would be able to get plenty of blueberries, that you wouldn't have to worry about predators very much. But we actually have a lot of birds in this area. People love to feed their birds. They love to see their birds eat. So there's a lot of bird feeders that draw a lot of birds. And there's just tons of birds. I have a friend that lives in the country, and she said, "Donna, I live in the country, and you have more birds than I have ever saw right here in this area." And it's true. We have a ton of wildlife. And so we kind of have to fight for our berries here, our raspberries and our blueberries. I could use bird netting, but to be honest, I don't mind sharing the berries with the birds. It just makes it more exciting when I do get a few. So I haven't been serious about trying to keep the birds away using netting and that kind of thing to discourage them. I've just shared with the birds. I've just shared my blueberries and my raspberries, but it's always a treat when I do get one. And yes, I pluck them right off of the bush or right off of the vine, and I go ahead and eat them because they've been out in the sun. If I don't see anything on them, I consider them clean, and I just go ahead and eat them right off the bush. And I do that in the mountains, and that's what I have done all of my life. So that's something that I do. You may want to be sure you harvest your berries and wash them very well. You don't have to do this as I do, certainly, but we enjoy them right off the vine. If you invite me to your strawberry patch and I'm out there picking strawberries, if I go and pick berries, you can guarantee I'm going to pop a few in my mouth, and so will my kids. We have done that for years. I've done it all of my life, and they have done it all of their lives. So usually when we pick strawberries, it's irresistible to just pop a few in our mouth. Luckily, we know the people that grow the strawberries, and we know that there's not anything on them that will hurt us. So that's something that's perfectly acceptable around here. Well, thank you for joining me and letting me show you around the small garden. Now, I do have one little small thing to share with you. I've got some new additions to the house, and it's new animals in here, and I'll share with you those. Thank you for hanging here to the end with me, and let me take you in the house and share with you my new pets. Well, I tried to find them when I came in, but they were hiding. If you remember in one of my videos, I was able to get 2 little kittens. They were called Basil and Patchouli. And we loved those little kittens, but they were feral. They had been born and raised outside at my sister's house. And we had gotten them when they were little. And we thought that we could tame them. We thought we could take those little kitties and love them and get them tamed. But they turned out to be way too feral for us to keep. They would run across and just scratch our feet up, and they were like wildcats. So we had to take those back and give those back to my sister where they could be outside. But we were able to get 2 sweet kitties. They're hiding from me right now. I came in from outside and wanted to share them with you. So I may have to share those 2 sweet kitties with you in a different video, unless they come out while I'm here talking with you. And then if they do, then I'll share them with you. But if not, I'll share them with you in the next video. Well, these sweet little kitties, a friend of mine had, and this little cat wandered up, and it looked to be about 2 years old, and she was just feeding it and keeping it in her garage because she thought it was somebody's pet. And she was trying to let everybody in the neighborhood know that she had this cat. So she was talking to the neighbors and letting them know that I have this cat in the garage. If it's anybody's cat, please, come and get it. Let them know that I have it. Well, she posted around and let everybody know that she had this cat, and she's had it for quite a while. Well, she was holding it in her lap, and its water broke. So this cat that she had put in her garage for a few months ended up having kittens, and it had 5 little kittens. So the kittens are 8 weeks old. They were ready to give away, and I ran into her at the thrift store, and she let me know that she had these kittens. And I had been looking for a cat since we had to give Patchouli and Basil back. I wanted to get a cat that was calm and would want the kids to pet it and would allow me and Donald to pet it, and we wouldn't have to worry about it scratching feet. There's diabetics in the house, and that was in it. We couldn't keep a cat that was scratching up our feet. So we were looking for a cat to replace the 2 wild cats that we were not able to keep. And we were able to get this little cat. We went to just get 1 kitten. My daughter decided that she wanted a kitten, so we ended up getting 2 kittens. And while we were there looking at the kittens, and I wish I had took my phone, I wish I had filmed it for you guys and let you see that beautiful moment when we picked out these kittens, when we went and met them. But my husband, this cat, the mama cat, just came up and just loved and just crawled around my husband's legs. And it got so attached to him in the small, short time that we were there looking at the kittens and picking out our 2 kittens that we couldn't leave it. So Mama Cat came home with us and 2 kittens, which went to my daughter. My daughter picked her kitten up, and they are loving it. It is so sweet. They are some of the sweetest little cats that we have ever encountered, and it was just what our family needed. It was just what we were looking for. We were looking for sweet cats to be parts of our family, not wild cats that we couldn't catch or that was just clawing us up. So while we were regretful of having to not be able to keep Basil and Patchouli, we are thankful for our new additions. And I'm sorry, I really planned to show them to you, but they're hiding from me because I came in from outside and they're new here, and they're getting accustomed to me because I'm here all the time and I feed them, so they know who I am. And their first day with the kids was yesterday, so the kids came in, and of course, you got a kitten, the kids are going to love it all day long. So they are recovering from yesterday of being just loved on all day. In fact, the mama kitten, the mama cat, she hid, and we thought that she had got away, that the back door had been left a crack, and we thought that maybe she had escaped out of that because we called her, and she didn't come out. But she hadn't. She was in the bedroom hiding after, we looked everywhere for her. We went outside and looked for her, and we called her. We were really nervous and worried about her because we thought, oh gosh, she's got out with the dog, or she's going to, escape in the neighborhood. But that didn't happen. She was hiding in there. And later that night, when things got calm, she came sneaking out to eat her food. And so we found her, and thank God she had not gotten out. She was just hiding from us in there. But when I can find them, I will be glad to share them with you. I wanted you to see how pretty they are and how sweet of little cats they are. But we have new additions to our family, and I'm not sure what their names are. I haven't named these cats. My friend did not even name the mama cat because she, didn't think she was going to be able to keep her, so she just called her Mama Cat. So right now we have Mama Cat and Baby, but we don't have official names for them. But I'll be sure and share them for you when I can get them to come out. Thank you for joining me today in my garden, and let me tell you about our new kitties. Thank you for your time and for being here, and like always, until next time.